Come on. There we go. All right. And we got to pop out the chat. Put it into the other window. Slide it down to there. Turn off top chat. Turn on live chat. Okay. And neato. How you folks doing? I hope you're doing well. Happy Sunday or Monday, depends on where you live. Let's see here. Greetings from Union County, Georgia. I picked up a paint handle based on your recommendation in Friday's video. It just came in the mail yesterday. Looking forward to trying it later today. Nice. Nurgle Matthew, how you doing? Good to see you. SB Lloyd or S. Bloyd. I think that's that. I like that. Good morning from Muggy Corpus Christi, where I'm planning to work on more of my after-school club's Grimdark Future Firefight terrain and warbands today. Nice. That's very nice of you to do. Kriegs, how you doing? Let's see here. Fungazi, good morning from lovely Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Oh, there you go. Let's see here. Good morning from Middle Georgia. How you doing? Howdy from a cool Central Texas. It's only 80 with a high of only 93. It's cool right now, and it's kind of okay in the humidity. It's supposed to get warmer later today. And the next 2 days are supposed to be in the 90s. So we've got the windows open this morning, but that will probably end. Hello from Erskine, Scotland. Out getting coffees in the sun, but have been working on rebuilding a Space Crusade set. Nice. Going from Fort Wayne, getting ready to leave for Oshkosh for Air Venture. I always make it a point to stop and visit the FLGS while I am in there. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I suppose that's coming up, isn't it? Yeah. The big airplane hootenanny's coming up at the end of the month. I wonder if it overlaps with Gen Con this year. Probably just before. Morning from Quebec. How you doing, Dragonfire? Rodney, well, hello from a wet Yukon. Hope you are well. Let's see. Swampy Southern Illinois. Motor Breath Jazz, hello, hello. VJ Morph, good time of day. White Metal, how you doing? Good morning from Buena Park, California. How you doing? Jebbies, Ottawa, how you doing? Joseph, good morning from Cleveland. I am painting some Black Grail for Trench Crusade this morning. Nice. Clarence, yep. Good morning from Mobile. Ahoy from the blazing French Alps. How you doing? I hope things are doing okay. I'm keeping slightly cool. Greetings from Clearwater, Florida. I got a sneeze. Ralph. Appreciate it. Excuse me. Watching a show live from Sheffield, UK. DJ Todd P. Harris, good morning. Blasted Samouflage, Southern Ontario, how you doing? Deruti, how you doing? Good morning from a sunny Milwaukee, not looking forward to this week's temps. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty warm. Good morning from Richmond, Virginia. No hobbying for me lately, but I'm always happy to tune in. Well, that's cool. Hello from hot UK. I hope it is something that you can get through without too much trouble. I know, like over here in the States, especially in parts of the country where it's warm a lot, we always have air conditioning and stuff like that, obviously, when you're indoors, but that's not the standard in a lot of places overseas, let's say, like in Europe, because it doesn't usually warrant it, but these days it does seem to. Hey, Maggie. She's hanging out by the window. Let's see here. You scared the crap out of me as I forgot I had this tab open. Sorry. Hello from Sweden. Good morning from muggy Scranton, Pennsylvania. I think it's going to get muggy here later, but maybe not. I don't know. Just ticked over to Monday, so happy Monday. Absolutely. Good morning. Doing some prep for our local convention, QuestCon Orlando. Nice. Watching while I plug away on a Star of Mechs in South Ontario. Nice. Morning from muggy Southern New Jersey, trying to get through the clan rats. That's a lot of clan rats, yeah. Pesler, how you doing? Good morning from a sweltering Saskatchewan. We had 10 tornadoes the other day. Well, that's not good. How has your weekend been? So yesterday I worked on, in the morning I did a bunch of painting. I worked on the Space Marines that I am currently doing stuff with. I'm making them into a 1,000 point list for Grimdark Future. They're going to be Prime Brothers, which are basically the Primaris Marines. My list is 19 models. It's basically a squad of 5 regular guys, another squad of 5 regular guys, a squad of 5, they call them blasters, but they're basically like the Hell Blasters. So that's 15 models. Then it's a squad of 3 veterans, with like kind of heavier guns, like big, like heavy machine gun type things. And then the last one is basically like a leader, kind of a big captain guy with like a pistol and a power sword and stuff like that. And that comes to like 980 points. My plan is to eventually flesh it out to 2,000 points, but I'll probably just put in like a vehicle, and that'll take care of a lot of that because vehicles are quite expensive points wise in and also very, very scary in Grimdark Future. So yeah, I've been working on those guys, speed painting them up. They've been turning out relatively well. I was working on them the latter part of yesterday's Twitch stream because I had been working on Trench Crusade guys, and then I broke one of them. So that was a bummer. In theory, the plastics for Trench Crusade, the new Carcass Front, which is the new 2-player starter box that's coming out, I should be getting one of those in the mail in the next week or two. So I'll be able to replace that guy. I'm working on the Heretic Naval Raiders, which is one of the forces that's in the new box, but they didn't have the plastics ready to ship when we started working on this project with the Army Painter and Trench Crusade and all this kind of stuff. It's this thing called the Arena Challenge. So anyway, the Trench Crusade folks 3D printed the models and then sent them to me, and one of them broke because he's like a guy running and he's standing on just one foot, so there's just one foot glued to the base, and it got snapped. And then I glued it back on, and it was a pain in the butt. And I finally got it glued back on, and then it fell off again, and then fell on the ground and broke his stupid bayonet. And so yeah, that's what happens with a concrete floor in the basement, Anyway, so I just switched over. I was like, all right, well, not working on these guys anymore. I'm going to just go back and work on my Space Marines. And so I did that for a while, and we'll see how Monday goes. I don't know. Maybe I'll just work on Space Marines more. Let me see here. Saskatchewan. Oh yeah, and then otherwise, went to a birthday party for a friend of my mom's and a mother of one of my best friends. And he was in town. He lives in Seattle, and so he was in town to obviously be there for his mother's birthday and all that kind of stuff. So I hadn't seen him in a minute, so it was nice to catch up and see his family and all that kind of stuff. So that was cool. And then we went to a supper club. We go to supper clubs like once a month generally. Our kind of friend group make reservations and go to a thing, and that was a good time. And yeah, that was pretty much my Saturday. And then today it is this, and then lunch at the in-laws, and then probably editing podcast, and then if there's any time left, then maybe some hobby, and then in the evening late, probably starting around 9 my time, it's our normal weekly meeting, me and Vince. So it's a busy Sunday. Let's see here. Greetings from Too Hot Luxembourg. Well, I hope that it may be an idea, and I don't know. It may be a good idea to start thinking about air conditioning over there, because I don't think it's going to get any cooler globe-wise. Let's just say that. But then, of course, there's the power grid. There's a lot of infrastructure that comes into that, so it's a big problem. Morning from Indianapolis, working on a Redemptor Dreadnought I got for Father's Day. My children are enablers. Nice. I have a Redemptor Dreadnought. So the Primaris Marines that I've been working on are Primaris Marines that I built back in 8th edition. When 8th edition and the Primaris Marines first came out, that box was called Dark Imperium. So I built a bunch of guys, and I was going to build an army, and then they as GW does, they changed the rules a bunch, and then I was like, meh. So my point is that there's my wife and George outside in the garden. So anyway, my point is that they've been sitting in a box for quite some time, and that's what I'm painting now. But in that box, there's also a Redemptor Dreadnought. with the big gun magnetized, and I can use that in Grimdark Future. And there's also the repulsor vehicle, or whatever it's called. The original repulsor is in there too. So, and that's built. And so I can also use that. Although I don't think, I mean, it's got a lot of guns on it. And if I want to be very WYSIWYG, I don't think technically I can be that WYSIWYG. Because I think that the original design of that had way more guns than they'll let you put on to like the repulsor or whatever is considered, I think it's considered like a Titan, or not a Titan, but it's considered like really high level. It's 800 points. If I put it into a 2,000 point army, it would be 800 points in one model or something like that. It's crazy. Let's see here. Indianapolis. Built my first 15 models from the Armageddon box. Nice. I kind of am interested in the grots from that box. I'll have to look on eBay and see if anyone's selling those grots. What's the deal with the impending Necromunda reboot? I mean, we don't really know. They've had some conversation about it. They've talked about it a bit on the preview. And then a couple days ago, they had the Big Summer Preview Q&A, which was basically them answering a bunch of questions, which I appreciate. I'm glad they did like a follow-up and everything. And they talked about Necromunda in there a little bit, made things just a scotch clearer, but not much. You know, it's one of those things where they're like, hey, but you know, who knows? We have no idea when it's coming out, how much it's going to cost. They keep saying it's streamlined, but they don't really say how much. Although, I'll be honest, from the conversation that they had in the Q&A, and from the fact that the dice aren't changing, I don't think it's going to be a drastic change, like the difference between, say, Kill Team 2018 and Kill Team 2021. Like when I first got Kill Team 2021 in the mail and I looked at the cards and stuff like that for the stat blocks for the different models I had, I didn't recognize what was going on. I was like, I have no idea what the heck this is. I'm betting that's not going to change as drastically with Necromunda. I could be wrong, but I bet that you know the streamlining is going to be slight. Honestly, they could make a big win by just making it so that the book was more readable than some of the previous books, and that would be helpful. Let's see here. But I'll talk more about that in a bit. Good evening, morning. Finally used my resin printer after a year of it being a desk ornament. Printed a tiny owl bear. Very excited. Well, that's cool. NapGod got a Bamboo Labs printer a month ago. I've been printing Munda terrain nonstop. Yeah, I've got one of these two. So nearly everything on this board is 3D printed, except for the board. The board is just the regular, plastic Necromunda tile. But everything but this round thing and like the ladders and the railings, everything else on this is 3D printed. So that's kind of cool. The other one that I have over here is got a little bit of 3D printed stuff on it, but not a lot yet. There's like one piece, I think, on here that's 3D printed, but everything else is like stock, normal stuff. But I'll talk more about that in a bit as well. Morning from Omaha, printing Armageddon Orcs, priming Armageddon Orcs before the atmosphere ignites later today. Yeah. Good afternoon from Denmark. How you doing? Working for some commission while waiting on news of Necromunda. Necromunda. That's a fun word. Hello from West Michigan. How you doing? Hoping to use this morning to glue together some Orcs, Tau, and Krieg kill teams to use for Space Station Zero. Well, that's very cool. Very cool. I just noticed my batteries are already dead on my on-air light over there, and that's a bummer. What are you going to do? God, it eats up batteries like crazy. It doesn't have a plug. And let's see here. First time in years watching live, often too late a weeknight in Australia. Gotcha, makes sense. I know it's customary to work on hobby while watching, so I'm making a spreadsheet of things to sell to Noble Knight Games. There you go. Good sunny and warm morning from St. Jerome. Hope you're doing great. Always nice to be on time for your show. I'm glad to have you here. Working on stripping paint from a mobile suit that I screwed up. Gotcha. Morning from Northern Indiana. Glad I caught the stream as I finished building the Armageddon box models. Cool. Dark Fantastic Mills ran a Kickstarter for some fantastic terrain for Necromunda. Core files just dropped a couple days ago. Perfect timing for upcoming new edition. Dark Fantastic Mills. Never heard of them. Good afternoon from a too hot and sunny Belgium. Housework time listening to the show, but some painting time later from the thankfully much cooler basement. Basements do have a tendency to be cooler. It is nice. Good morning. Florida isn't 100-degree mornings yet. I mean, but it'll probably be there. Some Gundam Sprue Runner have round shape in the middle. It makes for a nice shape for kit bashing. I have the one that looks like an old radio antenna, great for Trench Crusade. Nice. While I was lounging at the cottage last week, I put together some Conflict 47 Stahltruppen. Big chunky fellows. Nice. Happy time of day from Williams Lake, BC. Hope you and yours are well. I hope you and yours are well as well. Morning from Wichita, looking at the Gen Con vendor list for my first time attending. I have not looked at the vendor list yet, but I was on Facebook, I think, and I follow Monster Fight Club. And Monster Fight Club was like, hey, we're going to be at Gen Con, and here's our booth. And it was like a diagram of the dealer area. And then it was like, here's our booth. And it was just like this tiny dot in this massive sea. And they usually have a good-sized booth. It's not like they're like a 10 by 10. They usually have like a good, I don't know, 30 by 30 or booth maybe, or I don't know. But it's just like, I forget, and I've been going for years, but I forget how big the dealer hall is there. It's like, Vince and I were talking about this last week, I think. It's at least 30 aisles, or would those be rows? I don't know, whatever. Because it starts at like 100 and then it goes to like aisle 3400 or 3300 or something like that. So it's like 100, 200, 300, 400. They do that, I guess, because then you're like in aisle 100, but you are booth 147, let's say. So instead of being like aisle 1, anyway, but it's just so huge. Like it's bigger than most, like it's bigger than, just the dealer hall is bigger than Gen Con or Adepticon. I'm pretty sure. It's monstrous. Good Monday morning from New Zealand. Thanks for all the content that keeps me company during my painting sessions. Absolutely. Excited about today's topic, restarting my Necromunda collection to using Grimdark Future Firefight Gang War. Nice. Yeah, I can completely understand that too. And like I said, this terrain that I'm working on, this stuff, though it is Necromunda terrain, I can use it for whatever. So if it turns out that Necromunda is just, hey, we made new books and didn't really change anything or tweak anything or whatever, then I am less likely to give it another try. But the terrain is still awesome. The terrain can be used in all kinds of different games. So Grimdark Future Firefight being one, Space Weirdos. I mean, honestly, it wouldn't be the end of the world if you used it in Space Station Zero. You'd use 2 of those across, which would be 24 inches, which is a little wider than the normal 22 by 30, but 24 by 36 is not massively oversized. Again, pretty much everything we put in those books is always a suggestion. So you can be like, well, I think I'm going to do this. And you're like, okay, cool. So yeah. Now I'm looking through my World War II German armor books. Gotcha. Morning from rainy day, Middle Tennessee. Just finished some Space Wolves and the weird but cool ATV for the, oh yeah, I've seen the ATV for the Space Marines. Started playing Cyberpunk 2077. Awesome, they named a character after you. They didn't. That character's been around for a long time, and I had forgotten about it. Like, his name is Adam, A-D-A-M Smasher, which is a bit more of a play on words, and I have a tendency to go by Adam, A-T-O-M Smasher, which is less of a play on words, because an atom smasher is an actual scientific thing. I don't know exactly. Something to do with science. Anyway, but yeah, so it's kind of different. And but I had forgotten about him completely when I started calling myself that back in like 2013, because he as a character was in the original pen and paper Cyberpunk role-playing game, which technically I never really played. I owned a used copy of it that I bought someplace, and I would read it and have a good time with it and stuff like that, but it had been years and years and years. When I was still doing role-playing stuff, we played Shadowrun instead of Cyberpunk. which then also had like magic and elves and crap like that in it and whatever. But it was a good system. And FASA was pretty cool. But Cyberpunk was, yeah, that character's been around for a long time. But Cyberpunk 2077, the video game, spectacular. Possibly the best video game ever. It's, jeez, just driving around in town, just driving around Night City is awesome. Gonna print out some cultist ganger types for Grimdark Future Firefight. Not that I need another faction. I mean, I have right here, I have a Grimdark Future Firefight list of Human Defense Force. I had my friend Dave print me a bunch of Human Defense Force guys from their Human Defense Force STLs. I've got one complete squad and a bunch of extra guys that can kind of swap in with different weapons and things like that. I need to start texturing their bases, and then I've pretty much come up with a paint scheme, and then I need to start painting. I think I'm going to go with just honestly like an olive drab sort of, what we would think of as military kind of look, instead of going crazy with them. But I might do a second unit then, because I have more of the models too, and do a completely separate unit then that might also then be a different color. Probably not like red like the other ones that I did, but something like that maybe, or I don't know. I'll figure it out, but yeah. Good morning from New Jersey. Going to wear my Trader Guard cosplay to an anime con today. Maybe very out of place. Well, I mean, cosplay is cosplay. Excuse me. Surprised Dragonflies. How you doing? Good morning from an overcast and quiet pocket dimension. Hi, JP Got Rockets. Hope you're doing well. Let's see here. Once upon a time, I painted a tiny orc logo on one of my orcs before realizing the kit came with decals and transfers. Sure. If you want rules that don't change, go play Battletech. I've been playing on and off since 1988, and they're basically the same rules. Aren't they just about to update the rules again, though? I thought there's something coming real soon. There's new books coming, aren't there? Minimal changes in Necromunda was my takeaway from what I've seen as well. Glad that we'll be getting a book count reduction within the 2 gang books. I hope it sticks. Yeah, that would be nice. I avoid bayonet and other small bits that just break off. Details are nice, but minis are constantly being handled, so that's no good. Yeah, I get that. I like the grots from Armageddon, but they went together a bit hard. The pegs did not want to slide in well. Had to clip off most of the pegs to make them work. I do that usually anyway, yeah. Grots are on the same sprue as the boys. Oh, that's a bummer. Well, what are you going to do? I don't understand why GW doesn't do compendiums for each large faction for all of their games, allowing mixing units, all of the rules in one place, and catalog for buying minis. They want to sell more books, so that's just the way it seems to work. Hey, Adam, have you heard anything about the Land and Sea miniatures game that Blaine Lee Pardo has been writing the fiction for? I've not heard of any of those things, no. I don't know about Land and Sea, and I don't know who Blaine Lee Pardo is. So no, I have not kept up on that. 2 more days of work before 2 weeks of vacation. Unfortunately, I'll be on the road enough that I won't be able to get to hobby too much, but I'm sure I'll add to my pile of potential. Well, there you go, Not mentioning my Orlok Bullet Merchant in the included entries, I would say is pretty drastic. Let's see here. Working on an Enforcer Ambot conversion. Nice. I'll send you the grots in that gun platform if you like. You're not going to use the grots in the gun platform thing? They're very cool. Hello from Des Moines, Iowa. Trying to stay cool. Nice. Would Old World Battle March get you into it since it's skirmish size? I don't know what Battle March is. Old fantasy style has me excited to have my heart broken by another game. I've not been as much into fantasy lately. Like, the last fantasy game that I really liked was probably Warcry, and I haven't really gotten super into fantasy lately. There's things here and there that pop up once in a while, but I'm generally more likely to be interested in sci-fi these days. Midnight here in Canberra, -5 degrees Celsius. What? That's crazy. Oh, never mind. That's in Australia. That makes more sense. Yes. Working on some Assyrian infantry. For some reason, Canberra, I was thinking was in Canada for just a split second because it has the word "can" in it, in mind. Let's see here. Battle March is cool. Love what they did with it. Very excited to build armies. Going to try and run some events in my local. That's cool. Hanover, Germany. I'm working on some Fireforge archers and crossbowmen for my Barons War and Line Rampant forces. That's pretty cool. The Fireforge stuff is cool. I got a bunch of their like undead soldiers, I think. Morning, Uncle Adam. Do you use music to set the mood when you play games? I don't usually. Should think about it though. I have a Bluetooth speaker. It wouldn't be difficult to do. You know what I mean? Necromunda. The box is underwhelming for me. Maybe I'll buy the rule book for my collection. Yeah, I got to be honest. The box is not super impressive to me either. The new models are probably fine. That being said, they're the two factions that are my least favorite. So, I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying I don't care. I just have never been super into Goliath or Escher. Like literally everything, like Vansar, Orlok, Caudor, Delak, Palanite, like all those guys are much more interesting to me than those two. I don't know why. And then those pieces of pipe terrain, yeah, I don't know. They're kind of dull. I do hope that they work with the Zone Mortalis tiles. I hope that they've made them so that they fit kind of within this sort of grid pattern. That'd be sort of nice. Because if I get that box, I would add some of that stuff. And if you can buy there's going to be a box that's going to have like more of that stuff, I think. And maybe some bigger pieces. I'm not sure. We haven't seen much other than like the cover. But some of those pipes would be sort of useful for these types of things. The thing about this stuff is that, so I have a third one downstairs that's like, nothing's glued down yet, but I'm like kind of test fitting where I'm going to put stuff. My hope is by the end of the summer, and I'm trying to be realistic here, by the end of the summer, I'm going to have 4 of these done. I have 2 of them near done. There's touch-ups that need to be done on this and some graffiti and some stuff like that. Both of these are in kind of the same spot. They've both gotten the rust stuff done on them. I did in that video that like literally almost nobody watched, which I thought was a great technique and it worked out really well. But yeah, the rust is pretty easy to put on and very simple and doesn't use expensive, crazy stuff. Oh shoot. The air conditioning just kicked in. Hang on a sec, folks. I'll be right back. I got to turn that off since all the windows are open and my wife just rode off on her bike. So I'll be back in just a second. All right. It'll turn off in a second. Normally, I would just use my app on the phone to turn off the thermostat and then turn it back on. But Google, our thermostat still works as a thermostat, but it doesn't see the internet anymore because they were like, oh, yeah, we had to update some stuff and now you need to buy a new thermostat. Sorry. And I'm like, you didn't need to do that. You just did it because you want us to buy a new thermostat. Now, admittedly, we've had that thermostat for 10 years, but you shouldn't need to buy a new thermostat just because they're like, oh, we had to update some stuff. It's stupid, but I don't know. So we did buy a new thermostat. I just haven't installed it yet. So that's why I can't, with the app, tell it, hey, stop doing that. I have to walk over there and then tell it to stop doing that manually, but whatever. Anyway, let's see. Where was I here? Music. Underwhelming. Yeah. It's the terrain stuff is going to be that those pipes by themselves are going to, I'm hoping, like, I'm pretty sure of this. I've had a bunch of people in the comments being like, well, the game is supposed to be a 3-dimensional game and it looks like they're making it a 2-dimensional game. And I'm like, they're making base set a two-dimensional game, but I bet the rules will be a three-dimensional game. When 2017 version of Necromunda, the new version of Necromunda came out, it was a two-dimensional game because they just put out the box and they didn't have like the big book yet, really, not exactly. It wasn't until like the first Gang Wars box or whatever where they were like, oh, and here's the rules for making it three-dimensional. That was sort of a stupid move. I would be astounded if they did that again. I have a suspicion that they're just like, look, we're going to give you enough terrain to make this actually a viable starter, but really you want to play in 3 dimensions, and hopefully I'm sure that the book's going to have, God, it'd be really dumb if they didn't put 3-dimensional rules in the book. You know what I mean? Like the book that's going to be the book. I don't know. It'd be great to see if they actually like dial back on the books. I would be very impressed. But once they put this book out and then the 2 other books, the 2 different gang books, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, even in the Q&A, I swear that Adam did mention there was going to be some journals that were going to come out. So we'll see what that means. Print Minis has some good Necromunda style terrain, including floor tiles that match up with those plates pretty nicely. Yeah, the plates I don't have a problem with. I got plenty of plates. I'll be honest, the downside is that, like I said, by the end of the summer, I'd like to have 4 finished, but that's still only a 2x2 board. And Necromunda is supposed to be played, I think, at least on a 3x3 board, which at that point becomes 9. So that's even more than double what I've already. So 3x3 is going to be a bit of work, but 2x2 will work fine for other games. Like I said, you know, like Space Station. Well, Space Station Zero is going to need probably 2x3, but Space Weirdos, Planet 28, you know, even Grimdark Future Firefight can be played on a 2x2. So. Me and Maggie both just heard something scrabbling around down there. I wonder if there's a squirrel making a bunch of noise. She got very excited. But I could just hear it right over there. Going from Chicago suburbs, listening while mowing the lawn. Really enjoyed seeing you, Vince and Sam at TMX. Well, we were glad to have you. TMX was a fun time this year. Streamlined doesn't scream crunchy roster building to me. Honestly, this is so. I've been talking about this, and we've been talking about it on the podcast a bit, me and Vince, lately. And I mentioned it initially in a video, and I think Vince has kind of picked up on it to some degree. But this whole kind of idea, we've been referring to it as the sandwich cookie idea, and basically that is the crunch, and then the easy, and then the crunch. So when you're building your forces, you're making your warband or whatever, that's a part of the game that I want to be kind of crunchy, because I generally only do it really once, you know, per warband. You know, it's not something you do like every time you play. You sit down and you go, okay, well, I got and this guy's going to have this grenade, and this guy's going to have this pistol, and I got this many points left, so I'm going to give this guy psychic pants or whatever. And you do all of that. And that's the kind of crunchy part. And then the gameplay is relatively easy. Not stupid simple or something like that, but also not super crunchy. Making the gameplay crunchy, like I feel like honestly, the newer versions of Kill Team are the exact opposite. List building is easy because they barely give you any choices at all, and then the game itself is very crunchy with all kinds of tactic cards and stratagems and all this and gotchas and all that, and then there's almost nothing at the end for like post game process, right? For me and Vince and many other people, I want a crunchy, you know, like design my guys, a crunchy-ish, but not maybe as crunchy as the first part, post-game process, but I want the game to be a little bit more streamlined and easy, especially if I'm going to be playing a whole bunch of campaigns, because I want to be able to continue, like, you know, I want to play a hour-long game, maybe an hour and a half max. I don't want to play a 4-hour game and then have to do 20 of these, or 15 or 12 or something like that to go through an entire you know, campaign. It would be ideal if I could play 2 games in one night. You know, me and a friend get together and we play 2 games where, like, basically we've already got our guys, you know, designed and all that stuff. We play a game, do a post-game process, play another game, do another post-game process, still make it home in time for, you know, for normal bedtime or whatever. I don't know, something like that. I hate the ATV Invader for Space Marines. I want to get an alternative sculpt or kit bash or upgrade it. There must be probably some sort of 3D printed one or something like that. What Space Marine ATV? Yeah, there's like a weird Space Marine four-wheeler. They describe Streamline as improving the flow of the game, their example being that hit rolls won't be modified, but accuracy and cover will move to later in the sequence. Yeah, that was what they said in the Q&A. So I don't think anything's going to be a drastic change, but I think if they can streamline things, honestly, if they can streamline things, if they can make the book more readable, and if they can make the book clearer, which is a different thing than being more readable. Clearer is more about like knowing where the information is and having them put the information in the right sequences so you're never going, why is the armor save amongst this part of the book when it should be, I hit you, now I need to do an armor save. But instead, it's like, here's how damage works. Armor save is in a completely different section of the book, that kind of stuff. And that happens. Rule books do that all the time where they just put it someplace and you're like, why can't I ever find this? And it becomes down to a user experience kind of situation. So that would be helpful too. Trying Elgu Resin instead of my usual eSun, still failing to work out what scaling figure I used for my attempt to print Aether Studios C-Lab in HO scale. Let's see here. My annual visit to North Bay Hobbies and Games netted me one of those Rampart modular plastic kits molded by Archon Studios. Would be perfect for Necromunda. Oh yeah, no, there's a bunch of really cool plastic. Archon does some really great terrain. Really, really great stuff. Enjoyed listening to chat with the people at the New Merrick Workshop. Yeah, we had a good time on Thursday night. Yeah, Thursday night. I'm on my third playthrough for Cyberpunk 2077 and going full hacker this time. Very satisfying to wipe the map without pulling a trigger and half of it through camera in the parking lot. Nice. Yeah, I do love that game. I haven't played it in a minute. I should probably start a new character or something. FASA is still pretty cool, by the way. They have a few games and usually have a booth at Origins and Gen Con. Yeah, they got a spaceship game, right? Their spaceship models are gorgeous, though I'd probably use them with other rules. Yeah, I remember a couple years ago I stopped and chatted with them a little bit, and they had a cool spaceship game. But it's not the same folks, obviously. Well, maybe it's the same folks, but they're not doing the same stuff. They're not, obviously now Shadowrun and Battletech and all that stuff is all Catalyst Game Studios or whatever. Those Orlok ATVs look as they'd be very tippy. Though the Orlok ones are kind of cool in comparison to the Space Marine ones. Space Marine ones don't look like they tip over though. That's true. I recently bought Necromunda Hive Secundus, thinking of getting into Necromunda Skirmish. Nice. Hive Secundus has got a bunch of like ruined pieces, like wrecked bulkheads and stuff like that. I'm thinking about, because I have that box, I'm thinking about taking some of those and putting them in, some of them into these things. Not one of these, but one of the other ones I'm going to build so that I've got some places where stuff is wrecked, as well. So my headcanon, he's named after you. He's awesome. You're awesome. It's all awesome. Well, it could be, Good morning from Atlanta, Georgia, eating a late breakfast and then heading out to my weekly Mordheim campaign. Nice. Those are good terrain plates for Bangarang in the Gutterlands, Adam. I don't know that game. I know I've heard of it, but I don't know it. But it's post-apocalyptic, right? So that would be, yeah. I mean, honestly, these would work fine. The thing that's great about this terrain is it'll work great for nearly any kind of sci-fi game. I mean, obviously, if it's a spaceship game, well, then no. Or if it's like sci-fi tanks, probably not. But, for anything where it's folks shooting other folks and having the ability to play, well, like even if your rules don't have the ability to go on to like a second level or something like that, that's fine because you could just say, well, the stairs, you don't want to use them, like here. And so you can't go up there, but then you still have blocking line of sight and stuff like that. Another thing I want to add to these, but not permanently, I want to make a bunch of scatter terrain so that when I sit them down and put them together, I can then also put some like scatter terrain for cover here and there, like crates and barrels and things like that. The design for these, because I'm trying to stick obviously within the overall, grid work, how can I show this? Like some of these are going to work. I can't tell if I'm, like nothing's touching here when I put these two pieces together, right? Well, yeah, so you'd have to jump across. But if I turn them sometimes, there's parts that will touch somewhere. I don't know. I didn't get super crazy fancy with like trying to figure it out so that every time you put them together, everything touches right and everything like that. There's going to be times when they're not. And I'm also thinking about making like little short, bespoke, makeshift like walkways. So if there's a spot where like you can't, you want to go from point A to point B, sure, you could make a jump, as long as they still had jumping rules in Necromunda. But on the other hand, it could also be like I could use a bunch of sprue and some old scraps and stuff like that and make, like, for a while I was like, oh, I'll just make some wooden, bridges. But I'm like, where are they going to find wood on Necromunda? There probably isn't any wood left anymore. So I'm like, I should probably use scrap. Make more sense. Let me see here. Blaine Lee Pardo is one of the most prolific writers in Battletech fiction. I've never read any Battletech fiction. Land and Sea is about an alien invasion from sea-dwelling aliens set after a high-tech war between nations on Earth that developed mech suits. Huh? Hello from the Philippines. How you doing, Fudge Maker? On vacation and brought a mobile paint station working on painting Space Marines from the Armageddon box. Well, nice. That's pretty cool. Mechs and infantry versus big crabs. Oh, that's kind of neat. Finally caught you live. Well, Crazy Maker, I'm glad to have you here. Hello from Wiltshire. Been video editing, cowering next to my AC. Heatwave Mark II here this week. Yeah, it's going to be hot here too. I hope that your PC handles or whatever, computer handles the editing when it gets real hot. That's also a concern sometimes. You can't see it, but over here, I have my new little tiny mini standing desk. So this is where I do my normal editing here. There's two monitors. There's two 27-inch monitors, and there's this camera up above there, and there's a light up here, and there's keyboard and mouse and all that shenanigans. But now over here, I have this much smaller desk. It's like 32 inches by like 19 inches. It's a real weird random size, but it fits perfectly here. I found it on Amazon. And it's a standing desk, which I don't plan to stand at, but it allows me to adjust it so it's the same height as this desk, which makes me less annoyed. If you have two desks that are next to each other and one of them is just like a little bit shorter than the other, drives me slightly nuts. So this was very useful. And being a standing desk, it was like $65. I was like, I remember when standing desks were $500, but this is like $65 and it works great. So, but it has my new little tiny mini gaming PC on it. I bought this little tiny PC from a company called Geekcom. It's an AX8 Max, I think. A is in Alpha, X is in X-ray, 8 as in the Ocho, Max. And it's got like 32 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte hard drive, and it's a Ryzen 7 8745 something, I don't know, a bunch of stuff like that. But the first thing I did is I ripped Windows 11 off of it, and I put a Linux distro on it. And I'm not smart, but it was very easy to do. But yeah, I put Linux, a particular version of Linux called Bazite, which is designed for gaming. And then now I can play Steam games on it and stuff like that. Like, it plays all the, like, if you're basically, the Steam Deck, the handheld, is a Linux machine, but it can play Windows games. And it's because the folks at Valve made this thing, or they bought this thing, or they worked with this other company to make this sort of translator. I think it's called Proton. This has got the same thing going on. So it's not that I can only play Linux games that are on Steam, which is not that many games. I can play pretty much anything on here, which is really cool. But it was inexpensive, especially for now, because right now, like, gaming PCs are, super expensive because of all the RAM and stuff. Like, this thing costs $700. I mean, I had to buy a monitor too, because I didn't have another monitor. But yeah, it works out real nice. I've been real happy with it. I mean, admittedly, I'm playing goofy stuff. I'm playing, a lot of indie games and things like that. I'm not really playing big AAAs. So it probably would chug on some big AAAs, but I've been playing a lot of fun games that I enjoy, and I think that's the important part. I ran the Chris Piers miniature game Saurian Safari at my library Monday. The teen who played said I won because I bagged a T-Rex. I mean, I say she won because a Triceratops trampled me to death. I mean, those are both fun things, I think. Yeah. Battle March is a set of rules for Old World to play games from 400 to 750 points. Still the regular rules to play, and it is still regular rank and flank, not skirmish at all, not your cup of tea. Oh yeah, no, that would not be that might be my jam. Canberra is alleged to be named after an Aboriginal word meaning white man's meeting place. There must be a rabbit or something out there. She's very excited. I've always heard that the Yucatan Peninsula, and I don't know if this is true, but the Yucatan Peninsula was named the Yucatan Peninsula because I think when the Spanish rolled up, the people living there came out and were yelling Yucatan at them, and they just thought, oh, okay, so we've landed in Yucatan. But in their language, Yucatan was like, get out of here, go away. I don't know if that's true or not, but I remember hearing that in the school, and I don't remember if I heard it from a teacher or from somebody else. Hello from Southampton. Games Room is currently 40C another week without gaming. Donated my Gasland stuff to the new FLGS to help out with the spread. Well, that's nice of you to do. Yeah, that's no fun though. It's hard to game when you're real sweaty. Delok was what got me interested. Nomads made me stay. I kind of want to do another Delok. Well, I want to do a Delok warband. I built a warband based off of Delok, not for Necromunda, but just for regular skirmish games. And I did a bunch of kit bashing on them, gave them different weapons, different heads and stuff like that, but they still got those long, skinny bodies. But now I kind of want to do an actual Delok warband or, gang for Necromunda. So I might, it will depend on the rules, honestly. And because I do have and again, it also depends on how much, if they change points and stuff like that. Currently, I have a very legal Cawdor gang that I made about a year and a half ago. Me and Sam and Raven were going to start playing and stuff, and they started playing, and I built a force, and then but yeah, so I would probably start with them right now. Like I said, I've owned a lot of Necromunda models and stuff like that, but I've just always used them for kit bashing for cool other stuff. I've got lots of Necromunda things built and ready to go, but they're all kit bashed and head swaps and different arms and just used for all kinds of different things. That Cawdor group was my first, like, this is made for Necromunda, I'm not kit bashing particularly, group. But I do like Van Saar as well. I don't know. It's a good question. I play music while cooking and occasionally while hobbying. I don't play music while I'm doing hobby. It's always either generally podcasts or audiobooks these days. Yeah. It's called built-in obsolescence with technology. Yeah. Going to my first Gen Con this year along with my son. Nice. Are you going to be at a booth or are you there on business? It would be cool to run into you, say hi. I'm not planning on being in any booth particularly. Army Painter has a booth, but it's pretty small. It's evidently difficult to get, like, unless you evidently throw a whole bunch of money at Gen Con, they're not interested in, like, having you roll up and go, hey, last year I had a 10 by 10 booth. This year I'd like a 10 by 20 booth if we could. They'd be like, yeah, I don't know. But if you were to, like, well, here's a dump truck full of money, like Bandai did a couple of years ago, then you'd be like, oh, you've really never been here before, but here, have a 30 by 30 booth. So that's fine, whatever. But anyway, so Army Painter is, from what I understand, I think still has a 10 by 10 booth again this year. And the one thing they don't need in the booth where they're trying to sell stuff is a dork like me standing around talking to people. Like, they want me there at Adepticon, obviously. They want all of us factory team folks there at Adepticon because they have a bigger booth. And other shows as well. Like, in theory, I'm going to probably PAX Unplugged in December as well. and gonna be in and out of the booth there at PAX Unplugged for the Army Painter. But at Gen Con, unless like they need someone to cover if they have to go someplace or something like that, I'm unlikely to be in the booth because it's just packed, very small, and there's a lot of people in there very frequently. So yeah, so I'm there like on business and doing stuff, and we've got some meetings, me and Vince, and this and that. But it's I don't have any good schedule yet, especially this far out. Like we're still what 3 weeks away, maybe. I couldn't afford a super cool big Necromunda set. I think I'll be able to afford a new box and add my own terrain. I think I don't know how much that new box is going to be. I mean, it's got 2 forces in it. It's got a little bit of plastic terrain, it looks like. It's got a paper sheet. It's got a hardcover book, right? But only that one. It doesn't have the gang books, right? I don't think so. I'd be surprised if it was... I'm going to guess... I want to say 250. But it might be a little bit less than that. They'd be smart to make it less than that, but thermostat may have needed an update in the network connections hardware to limit known hacking attacks. But then you have to buy an entire new piece of hardware. I just think that they were like, oh no, dog, we just can't. You got to buy a new piece of hardware. It's like they made a good piece of hardware and then they were like, well, we shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, like, I'm not going to lie. We did have it for like a decade, but I'm annoyed. So, it'd be nice for GW to release a big box of terrain for Necromunda, but you don't put that in your starter set. Keep it simple. Yeah. I mean, like I said, they're going to do the, hang on a second here. Come on, I don't. All right, I'm gonna have to search for it. Necromunda. Here. Find out more. So that's the box that's coming out. That's, like I said, going to have, I think, 16 guys in it, or 16 models. Some of them are ladies. It's going to have some of this weird pipe crap, right? Gonna have these ladies. Gonna have these dudes. It's going to come with a couple of rulers and some little tokeny things, I don't know, and some dice and some templates. So none of that's changed. People are worried about I'm like, the dice and the templates are the same, so they probably didn't streamline it much if they did. You know what I mean? And then we got some of this shenanigans. But it looks like, all right, these will be available in a standalone set where you can make even more narratives to hide behind. So in the, like here, they don't show that big piece here that they show here. So I'm wondering if this is if you buy that separate box. And this thing too, the weird bicycle sprocket, like all this shenanigans. I'm wondering if this is if you buy the big fancy box. And then there's cards. I think the cards are supposed to come in the... I think the cards are supposed to come in the core set. Yeah. Gang tactics and combat and campaign cards from the core set will also be available separately. There you go. Okay. And then there's the 2 gang boxes. Yeah. I swear I saw something about... Oh, it was in the video. That's right. In the video, they showed off, oh, we're also going to be making a box of standalone stuff. But they didn't show that box here. They just said, these will be available in a standalone set where you can make even more narrative, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, they just didn't show the box on the page. They showed it in the video. So it'll be real interesting. I don't know. The downside, frankly, is that this Necromunda terrain is real expensive, which is partially why I've been 3D printing. Like the stuff that I've been 3D printing is more like the walls and columns and things like that, but they are slightly different designs. Like you can tell the difference. Like these are all 3D printed here. And they have the same kind of archway sort of look to them, but when you put them next to like an actual non 3D printed piece, they're not like direct one-to-one tweaks. Huh. I painted in, I don't know, you guys can't see this. I didn't paint these the same, so I'm gonna have to go back and fix that. Anyway, spiderweb. Anyway, but yeah, so they fit the same size. I would not say that they are a direct one-to-one ripoff, which is I would not like if they were. But they do. They are compatible. The ones that I've downloaded and stuff like that. But yeah, all this terrain stuff from them is pretty expensive. Like $102 for 6 columns. It looks like 5 walls and some doors. I don't know, dog. That's a lot. Barricades and objectives for $50. Yeah. This extended hab module is $112. I mean, admittedly, you're only going to use it if you're playing Ash Wastes, I guess, but still, come on. I don't know. So, yeah. And these out of stock, again, floor tiles are $85 now. I think when I first started buying them, they were like $70, but you only get 4 of them in a thing. 4 12-inch square plastic Zone Mortalis floor tiles. They are fully compatible with the contents of Necromunda Dark Uprising bag and other Zone Mortalis kits. But it's just like, yeah. Oh, yeah, and here's the ruined Zone Mortalis, which is the stuff that I think that came in the Secundus box or whatever. That's $90. So, yeah, it's a bummer that they charge so much for this stuff. It's all, from what I understand, made in China. I'm 90% sure. Because I'm pretty sure still most of the terrain is made in China. But yeah, so I don't know. It'll be real interesting to see what the price is on this new box for sure. Bayonets should be made of flexible plastic. Might not be the best, but that would at least stay attached long enough to send them right up. Again, my stuff was 3D printed, but it was supposed to be plastic. So when the plastics show up, it probably won't have that problem. Zone Mortalis tiles are nice, but $100 Canadian for 4 square feet. Yeah, exactly. Journals, meaning that they are moving to the same format as Horus Heresy and Old World, hardcover core books and softcover splat books for expansions and campaigns. If it's just for expansions and campaigns, fine. You know what I mean? Because then I'd be like, well, if I want that, I'm going to get it. But if I don't care. That'd be fine too. I feel you on the size thing. Grimdark Future Firefight is 4x4. I thought you could play it 3x3 if you played a 200-point game. I could be wrong. I have friends playing Goliath and Escher, so it makes sense for me to buy the core set as they often come with a built-in discount. Sure, potentially. Can you print out a Necromunda tile like yours on a Bamboo Lab A1 Mini? I have not had great luck printing tiles on my Bamboo. Now, part of the thing was I was trying to do it in the winter, and I think that it was cold in the basement enough so. It was cold enough in the basement that I couldn't get it to stick to the plate properly, so it would kind of on the corners sort of. But I was not printing a Necromunda tile. I was printing some other tiles, just some tiles I found online just to try to test it out. So yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I'm pretty sure people make the Necromunda tiles, but they have to be done 6x6 because the print bed is not big enough to do 12 inches. The biggest the print bed can go is like 9.5 maybe or something like that. It's 256. Is it 256 or 265? 256 millimeters, I think, square, something like that. And that's on the regular A1. The A1 Mini is even slightly smaller. So the best you could do would be to probably do a 6-inch tile, but it may be a little bit of a fight to get it to stick perfectly around the edges. And so that's a thing. Psychic pants. I mean, you know. What I find attractive about Necromunda is the second edition Second edition 40K basic rule set. The scale of the forces is a perfect size for me, so I can play. Yeah, yeah. Long live the peanut butter Oreo. Peanut butter Oreo is dope. It's the best kind. I can't play GW like one-page rules in BattleTech. Yeah, I mean, I'll be real frank. If Necromunda doesn't work out, then there's not a GW game that I care about. You know what I mean? Like, it's at this point, I'm not interested in 40K, not interested in Age of Sigmar, I'm not interested in Old World, Horus Heresy, you know, Adeptus Titanicus or whatever the little tiny dudes want. That no, Kill Team, no. Warcry seems to have gone away for the most part. I love the concept of Necromunda, but I've bounced off the rules before, and like I said, it seems highly unlikely that they are doing a drastic redo because the dice are the same as they used to be, the templates are still there, stuff like that. Templates are just automatically crunchy. Like, do you remember when they got rid of templates in, 8th edition 40K? They were just like, we don't need templates anymore, which I think was the smart move. I prefer it personally, but whatever. So yeah, I don't think that they're streamlining. Their idea of what streamlining is and my idea of what streamlining are not the same. But if it's at least more legible, more understandable, the book is easier to find things in, there are fewer books. Like, what I really want to know is, like, this is the current core rule book for Necromunda. It is monstrously thick. And it doesn't have like stats in there for armies or gangs and stuff like that, which is ridiculous. It is, not including the index, 332 pages. It's monstrous. The picture, do we have a picture of the book? Like, it's probably not a real picture. Like, I don't know if the book is this thick, then we'll already know that they didn't really do anything. But if the book is considerably thinner than this, then that might be good. You know what I mean? Because even if they don't change the rules drastically and they don't make things very different, but they still got a lot of the extra garbage out of the book and maybe made it so it made more sense and was clearer to play, then I'm at least interested again. You know what I mean? I guess I'll play some Crunch if there's some reason to, you know what I mean? But man, if this book shows up in the new box and it's just as thick as this monstrosity, I'm going to be like, well, okay, cool. They didn't do anything then. But we'll see. We'll very much see. There's a peanut butter Oreo. Sometimes they make Oreos with peanut butter cream on the inside, and those are delightful. The 40K Mario Kart. Oh yeah, you're right. That thing does look like a kind of like a Mario Kart vehicle, the one that the ATV or whatever the Space Marines drive around in. Does one-page rules have a good campaign option? Yeah, if you get the advanced rules, which currently the PDF for the advanced rules costs like $5. And then once you buy it, you've got it from now on. So every time they make an update, you just get an automatic refresh. So you don't have to be buying the new version every, X amount of time. In the advanced rules, they do have a bunch of stuff. Like there's like the advanced rules for like Grimdark Future is like, I don't know, maybe 40 pages. But like the first 17 is like, here is the rules to play the game. And then everything after that is all add-ons and, things you can, and it's very, very modular. So you can be like, I want to have command points, but we're not going to play with this thing. But here's the, campaign rules. Plus, if you're interested, there's even a more interesting, in my opinion, campaign rule thing that's designed for one-page rules. They have something called Star Quest, which is you generally have like 2 to 4 models. That's your entire, they're like heroes, and that's your entire force. And then you play either solo or co-op versus an army. Basically, you put like your collection, your army collection of bad guys into the app, into the website, and then they will spawn like waves and send them at you depending on how your guys are currently like statted up. And as you gain XP as you play games, your guys get tougher and the waves get a bit tougher and stuff like that. I did a video about Star Quest. There's Star Quest and there's also Regular Quest, which is basically their fantasy version. But I did a video about that back on the channel maybe 3 months ago, 2 to 3 months ago, I think. But yeah, I would check that out. It's very cool. I'd wager GW is going to make gang creation to an app. Oh, God. They don't make good apps. We'll see. Necromunda scenario and follow-up rescue scenario. And yes, the sequence in the Necromunda book is pretty foobar. There is a Necromunda Palanite Enforcer ATV thing. Maybe you can kit bash. Well, yeah. Bangarang in the Gutterlands is a game made by Bill from Bill Making Stuff. Yes, I knew. Yes, but I don't know. Like I said, I haven't played it or anything. I've just heard of it. Honestly, the thing that really stood out to me about it was just the word Bangarang, because it reminds me of the movie Hook, with Robin Williams. What materials did you use to make those? These things. So, like this is the plastic tiles from Games Workshop. They're called Zone Mortalis tiles. The most of this one, most everything is 3D printed. So this is all 3D printed with my Bamboo Lab A1. So it's printed in FDM, which is the filament stuff, not the resin stuff. These little railings and the ladders are just regular plastic, like Necromunda kits. And this is, I don't remember what this is from. This is some other GW doohickey that I just glued there because it fit. But everything else in that situation is 3D printed. Whereas over here, most of the stuff on here is not 3D printed. There's like one piece of this is 3D printed, but the rest of the stuff is not. This is like this weird sort of ruined bulkhead thing is not a Necromunda thing. This is some 40K weird terrain kit that came out years and years ago, and I found it fit relatively well, so I glued it down. And there's a pipe. I'm pretty sure that's not from, well, it might be from, I don't know. But then I like the way that I made things rusty and stuff like that. I did a video about that last summer, I think, which I thought it was a really cool video. I thought it made a lot of sense and everything like that. And like nobody cared. So what are you going to do? It's not wood. It's Underhive mushroom boards. Of all the shows I watch, this is one of them. There you go. I got some standing desks for free when my school district phased them all out. Interesting. You could 3D print some Necromunda walkways. I could design some and do it. That's a good point. If I kit bash it out of like sprue and like other stuff and like plastic card, it will look probably more kit bashed. You know what I mean? Like it'll look more like it was handmade by someone who was like, we need to stop falling down this thing. So let's build a bridge out of scrap crap that we found here in the hive. So I might do that either way, but I'm not, yeah. But I could 3D print something, I suppose. Also agree with Wood on Necromunda. I imagine it would be something expensive that nobles have. Oh yeah, for sure. The AX8 is only like $650. So like I said, I had the AX8 Max, I believe, and there were two versions. There's a 16 gig version for RAM and a 32 gig version. And I think that it was on sale when I got it, and the 32 gig version of it was $699, I think. But yeah, it's a really, I've been super happy with it. I've been playing like Brotato on it, and I've been playing Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, and now I've been playing Everything is Crab. That's a lot of fun. Like, I haven't tried playing, like, Cyberpunk 2077 on it, but it would probably actually work, because Cyberpunk 2077 will run on a Steam Deck, and this thing is, like, twice as powerful as a Steam Deck from what I looked up online to see. I'm like, I like you know, I basically was like, compare that thing to the Steam Deck, and I found a couple of different websites that were like, it's probably about twice as powerful. So that's not too bad. I should probably try putting 2077 on there and see. But I've been playing 2077. When I do play 2077, I play it on my PS5, and I've been pretty happy with it there. So, let's see here. Love indie games. I started up Axiom Verge again recently. Nice. Playing 5-man armies can be fun. Those Mantic terrain sets would also be perfect for Necromunda, along with whatever else you can scrounge up. Yeah, yeah. If a console would remaster X-Wing, TIE Fighter, Total War, I'd never need anything else. But I do enjoy good old games for DRM-free. Yeah. Is Ash Waste worth purchasing with the new edition upcoming? I think only if you want the terrain and the models that are in there. It's probably cheaper to buy the Ash Waste box to get the terrain and the models than it would be to buy that stuff separately. I would run the math first, but yeah. Now there's going to be a big honking book in there too, which is about to become useless. So but you know. So I got here right at the end. Oh no, I'm going till 11 a.m. my time. So there's about another 50 minutes. I'm just very behind on chat. Let's see here. How many Americans would yell USA if strangers try to take over? What? My wish for Santa is a Deloc gang, more like Goodwin's original mobster concept. Gotcha. It's the dry season, but I got 94% relative humidity at 17C. Wow. Try listening to the Dark Tide soundtrack for the Tron Legacy soundtrack some while hobbying. Both are great and very atmospheric. I don't know why I don't listen to music when I'm hobbying. I always need to be listening to someone talking, which is weird. Because normally, if I'm trying to I cannot read if I'm listening to someone talking, which I guess makes sense. I don't know. But for hobby stuff, it's either a podcast or an audiobook all the time. Hope I get to meet you at PAX and say hi. Yeah, I'm looking forward. I've not been to PAX Unplugged. I've been to PAX. Well, I was to this one in Seattle back in 2008, back when it was the only PAX. And I've been to PAX East in 2022. But I've never been to Unplugged, so I'm planning on going this year. Morning from Carlisle, Pennsylvania, hiding from the car show and painting OPR gang war scenery. Nice. 250 is too much. I agree, but again, 250 for the Necromunda box seems high. The new Old World Core set was 240. It's a huge hardcover book, about 50 minis, a mat, and templates. Well, this will be a hardcover book and not as many stuff. But it would be a great time for them to be like $199, but I'm dubious. Army Painter is GOAT, in my opinion. Nice. I switched entirely to Army Painter a few years ago and never looked back. It may be me being Danish. I mean, that might help, sure. I'd imagine a price closer to the Kill Team starter set. I don't know what the Kill Team starter set is. I don't know how much it costs. I mean, there was a Kill Team starter set that was like $100 for a while, but there's no way there's no way it'll be $100. Nothing close, not even. It's going to have a hardcover in it and templates and dice and all kinds of stuff like that. So I'm dubious on that. Orlok are my main, but I got a very large menagerie of Imperial Agent, Rogue Trader, Mutant, Gene Stealer, and Kit Bash Lurkers, also working on a Deloc base box. Nice. Necromunda terrain is pretty expensive compared to what you get. A big box of terrain would cost more than their starter box. Yeah. Hope they buff nomads. Nomads are cleaning house in my current campaign. That's interesting. One person says, I hope they buff nomads, and the next person says nomads are cleaning house in my current campaign. So yeah. What are your favorite STL manufacturers for good terrain? For Necromunda, I don't remember, frankly. Wait. Is that... No, that hard drive's not plugged in, so I can't look. Oh, wait. Hang on. I don't have... Okay, hang on. Just unplug that hard drive, which was technically not plugged in at all. And then I could plug this one in. Let me see. Where did I put that? Is it in? Okay. I'm hoping I recognize the name, but I can't remember off the top of my head the name of the company or the group that made the STLs that I generally use for Necromunda. Graphics, no. Old stuff, photo, no. Terrain, Necromunda stuff. No, that's not it. Shoot. Oh, STLs. Risor District Terrain Kit. Risor being R-I-S-O-R. They don't have any information in this folder that's like, oh, wait. Why are we, okay. God. Thank you. Nope. Print minis. Let's see if I can't. Websites. I want to add a new thing. New source. Screen capture. Okay. Not display capture, window capture. I'm looking for a preview here. So this is the one that I've used the most, probably. If I could get it to, there we go. And the company that makes it is a company that just seems to be called Print Minis. I'm pretty sure this is what I'm using. Yeah, I'm 98% sure that this is what I'm using. So if you're looking for Necromunda stuff, this stuff is designed and scaled to be fit with the tiles, if you're already using the tiles or whatever. But yeah, it's nice stuff. I have not printed any of the stairs or anything like that. I've really only printed like columns and walls and the top parts. But I think that if I got to be honest with you, I would almost think that the stairs and the railings and all that stuff might be slightly better in resin, but especially the railings, if you make those railings in resin, they're going to snap off real easy, I would think. So I don't know, maybe it's better to do it with, I would look, usually people like this, folks who make this stuff will say, oh, hey, we've tested it with FDM and, it's already pre-supported or whatever. Most of the stuff's not pre-supported, at least the stuff that I've been working with, but yeah, I would take a look at Print Minis, which are probably on, I would assume that they're on My Mini Factory. I think that's where I got these originally, was off of My Mini Factory, but yeah. And then we can get rid of you. Okay, cool. And we can turn that off and go back here. There we go. But yeah, I would tell you to take a look at that stuff probably. Going from South Elgin, or is it Elgin? Illinois. Love the every other Sunday formats. Hope to work on my miniatures while my boys work on the indie game they're creating. Nice. Quite pricey for the terrain. Yeah, the Necromunda terrain is very expensive. I got most of my Necromunda stuff used through Marketplace and my FLGS used bin, cheap enough. Well, that's helpful. Time to fire up the FDM printer, also true. A quick, less pricey solution could be those card terrain sets from Halo Flashpoint. Maybe? Thinking about picking up Stargrave, Frostgrave, so I have some use out of my Warhammer Yujing minis when I'm not playing 40k and Age of Sigmar. Makes sense. 4 square feet, must be hard to find shoes. Heyo. I've been getting into MDF terrain. I like to add bits and textures to them. Yeah, that helps to make it look better, I think. Raft and adjusting bed temp post-raft layer will help. Oh, chipmunk. Trying to get into the bird feeder. I just caught him in my peripheral there. Get out of there. Yeah, I messed around with bed temp. I messed around with rafts and like borders and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And I just never got my tiles to like perfectly lay flat. But again, it was like 62 degrees on a good day in the basement over the winter. So I have not tried doing it yet this summer. So I should like doing plates. I've done other 3D printing stuff, but I haven't done any tried printing any plates, like tiles and stuff like that. Have you tried a cool tack plate? I love those things. The stick is really nice. I haven't. I've heard about them. I like the look of the new gang boxes. You get both the gangs and the upgraded guys in one box. Oh, yeah. I mean, there is a benefit to that, I think, obviously. Hopefully they'll be cheaper than, than buying that stuff separately, but we'll see. If you get the super cool tack plate for the Bamboo A1, it stops warping. Interesting. MDF makes a great terrain skeleton. Porehammer made a co-op horde mode that is awesome. Very cool. GW focuses on competitive now instead of competing in the narrative space. I think it's a smart move. I don't, but we can have differing opinions. I don't think that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think them trying to focus on competitive is going to be maybe a problem long term, but we'll see. I mean, I know it makes me completely uninterested in their games, just full stop. But, what are you going to do? It's weird that you were talking about Bazite earlier, been researching it all week, just ordered a system to Bazite. Yeah, Bazite's awesome. I was like literally all I did was I put, where did it go? I put the ISO or ISO or whatever you call it. I like put it on this little thumb drive doohickey, and then I plugged it into the thing, booted it up, told it to go to the thing, to boot from this, and like it just worked, which I didn't expect with Linux because I've messed with Ubuntu back in the day. And it was one of those deals where you have like this extra PC and you put Ubuntu on it, and then you're like, oh wow, it doesn't see the Wi-Fi card at all, and I can't find a driver for this, and there's like just all these problems. But because this is AMD and evidently Bazite is kind of designed to work with AMD, I didn't have to look up a driver or anything. Like it immediately was like, yep, I got everything. I got the Wi-Fi card. I got I have this this company called 8-Bit Do, and they make a wireless controller. This is the 8-Bit Do Ultimate 2, I think, which rhymes. And it comes on a little cradle that to charge it up, and you just plug that into the computer to make it so that like it has power, in my opinion. So I had put Bazite on there, and everything was cool. I'm like, okay, I got Wi-Fi, I got everything. That's cool. The audio works, everything. And then I plugged this in, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have to find a driver for this. We'll have to see how that goes. And I plugged it in, and then I happened to look over to the lower right corner of the screen. A little thing popped up. It said, "Oh, 8-Bit Do Ultimate Wireless 2 installed." Like it just, yeah. So, as a person who's messed with Linux in the past, I was astounded at how simple it was to set up. It just was nothing. And like I said, it also comes with an app that you can just put a bunch of ROMs in if you're into like old retro games and you have a whole bunch of ROMs. Just all kinds of stuff. It's really designed specifically for gaming. I mean, it's got Firefox on it. You can web surf if you want to. You could probably put other things on there if you wanted to start put a word processor, but it's really basically just designed for gaming. And because it is so lightweight, it barely takes up any of it. It's like I said, it's got a terabyte hard drive, and Windows 11 took up like a third of that. And when I stripped all that stuff off and then just put this on there, the operating system takes up, I don't know, less than 100th. Like I've put a bunch of games on there, and I still have 930 gig left on that terabyte drive. And that terabyte drive, I think, before I put a single thing on there, I think that maybe the operating system was using 2 gig tops, maybe, I guess. So I guess that's not 100th, but you see what I'm saying. How do you manage the pressure of being the sex symbol of our hobby? I don't think that's a thing. That's not a thing. Let's see here. My brother-in-law picked up one of those Steel Rift 2-player starters from 2024, so we both now have what we need to get going, except time. Yeah, it's a great game. How you doing? Morning from Chicago. How's everyone doing this morning? Elijah, doing pretty well. Hope you're doing well as well. They have a copy of the Necromunda core book on the stack between them and the FAQ book, or FAQ video. Looks thinner. Interesting. I'll have to look at it real close. Howdy from Indiana. How you doing? Heading out to play some OPR right now. Nice. About the size of one of the previous gang books, I'd say. Well, that would be good. If it got thinner, that would be really good. Where'd you find the files for the building, or did you design them? I did not design them. It was through the print minis. I like the process you use for the rust effect, but at the time of your video, I just picked up a supply of dirty down rust from Goblin's Hut, so that's pretty much what I use. That stuff is so expensive, though. Like, evidently, I've been watching Trent over at, well, he's got a second channel now, but miscast Trent. He's got a second channel. It's just called Trent Holbrook, which is his name. He's been using a lot of dirty down rust lately, but evidently it is considerably cheaper in Australia. I don't know why. Is it made in Australia? I mean, that's weird, because usually stuff is more expensive in Australia. But he says it's way cheaper. But it's like $20 a bottle. And so I'm like, for terrain, like I could see it maybe on a model and stuff like that. But for terrain, I don't know if I want to use that. So I just made this relatively simple process with just using the rust effects paint and some water and some other stuff. I think there's some rust tone wash in there as well. Is there an OPR module for not Necromunda? Yeah, it's called Gang Warfare, or Gang War. Gang War or Gang Warfare, I forget which, but it is for Grimdark Future Firefight, which is the skirmish sci-fi game. There's Grimdark Future, which is the army scale sci-fi game, and then there's Grimdark Future Firefight, which is kind of like kill team size as far as, amount of models. Everything is crab is good. Yeah, I've been having fun with it. It's fun. Aquarium filter boards can make great Necromunda tiles. I've never heard of that. I've been printing Corvus Games terrain tiles, also printing rocks terrain in PLA. Changes color, and that's kind of cool. I've hit level 5 crabness. Oh, I've not gotten that good. I run Bazite, and I can say 10 or 2077 works fine. Nice. I prefer the term curmudgeonly. There you go. Had to mow the lawn, absolutely. Hey, Uncle Adam, do you have any good audiobook recommendations? I have one for you called Short Stay in Hell, where hell is a library and he has to find his life story as a book. What have I listened to most recently? Honestly, most recently was probably the Eisenhorn series. I did not mean to do that. There we go. Let's see here. Audible, library. Starter Villain by John Scalzi is awesome. It's really, really, really good. I like it a lot. There's a great book by, his name is Yahtzee Croshaw, and it's a book called Mogworld, which I enjoyed quite a bit. If you haven't read or listened to Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson, I would definitely tell you to check that out. That's a great cyberpunk. It's one of the best cyberpunk books out there. A lot of people talk about Neuromancer and stuff like that, but I like Snow Crash a lot. Discovered you back in 2016. Fell out of the hobby for many years, but slowly getting back into it. Glad to see you're still on YouTube. Still chugging along. Yep. Been doing it for 13 years now. I started in 2013, and now it's 2026. Oh, my goodness. My cat yelling at me for brushing stops me a lot. I don't know if you guys have been hearing it, but Rex has been yelling his fool head off in the other room. I think it's because he wants to go outside. My wife took this week off from work. So she's been taking Rex out on little walks like every day, and now he wants to go outside all the time. Um, and we don't let him go by himself because he will die because he's a moron, and or he'll kill all the birds in the neighborhood or something like that, which we also don't need. Um, so he goes out on a little leash, a little harness, and all that kind of stuff. But he's going to have a rude awakening this week because I'm not taking him out all the time. I might take him out, once in a while, or he'll have to wait until my wife gets home from work. But yeah, but he is insistent, and he needs to learn that we don't all rotate around him as far as our schedules are concerned. I keep hearing Necromunda books will be obsolete, but are they going to reproduce the lore scenarios if they streamline? Should I get our Anthean Secession books now in case? I mean, if you like the lore and stuff like that, then those books don't go bad. You know what I mean? But from what I understand, the rules will no longer be the case. So that'll be a thing. I cast my columns and walls in resin. They turned out nice, but 3D printing would have been easier and lighter. And probably true, yeah. My cat is very rude. He gets so relaxed when he gets brushed that he farts. Both Rex and George are young boys. They are both gassy. So yes, that George specifically, he's a farter. It's not great. Found a bunch of metal Dark Eldar for $4 a pop at a used bookstore. Have to say the secondary market is way more appealing than GW these days for miles and miles. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Like, I'm not generally a metal model fan. But that being said, I did buy a metal model this week, strangely. So in the video that I did about the handle, the handle from Amazon, it has those notches for putting square bases in, which the GW one doesn't. And so I was like, oh, that's a really cool idea. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna show that in the video by putting a square. And I don't have a single square base model that I could find. I looked all over, and I'm like, I have some Beastmen that were on square bases that I unglued. I used some debonder and I popped them off the bases because thankfully they weren't done with plastic cement, so that I could put them on rounds. But I got rid of I threw away the bases, and all the guys were already just, no base and waiting for new bases. And so, yeah. So I went to my local shop and I picked up a Hammer of Sigmar model, I think. It's like an old metal model. And he's got like a hammer in each hand, and he's on a square base. And I was like, all right, it was like $15. I was like, okay, cool. So I used that in the video. And then now I'm looking at that model. I'm like, I'm going to put him on a round base because I'm not putting him on a square base. And I think I'm going to give him 2 pistols instead of those 2 hammers he's holding. I think that might be kind of fun. Like 2 like laser, like super like sci-fi looking laser pistol type things would be kind of neat. So I'm thinking about doing that. But yeah, I'm just not, metal models just don't do it for me these days. My intention, use a digitally converted printed gang based on Space Nom to have a speed painted and cheap Necromunda gang. Those guys almost kind of look a little Goliath-y. I could see it. Why not? All plastic Orlok gang with vests converted to leather jackets, greaser hairdos. There you go. That's a lot. Tournament players are absolute whales. If they can keep the scene active, they can keep making money off of them. The game will suffer for casual play as a side effect. The podcast episode that's going live tomorrow for me and Vince is basically about how should you have two sets of rules for your game? Should you have a competitive set of rules and a narrative set of rules? And I think you should. I think Games Workshop should. Like, people will say, well, they do that already. Not really. They have, a set of rules, and then they have match play and they have narrative play or whatever. And that's fine. But you're using the match play rules to play the narrative play. And I think that there should be different rule sets if you're going to be that big and go down the road. You know what I mean? So, agreed about narrative versus competitive. I have no desire to be a tournament player. Yeah, no, same here. These games are always better when they tell a story. I agree. I'm at 36 models finished so far towards my yearly hobby goal of 100. Nice. What do people do when they can no longer play or paint because eyesight is going bad? Magnifiers is one option. It depends on how bad we're talking about. Like if it's to the point where you're going more legally blind, then I think that is a lot harder. Like my eyesight's not great, but I can still, like when I'm painting models, I am almost always just looking over the top of my glasses. You know what I mean? Because if I want to get this close, it's very difficult to do with my glasses. I have bifocals or whatever, progressive lenses. And so for this to be in focus, I have to tilt my head way back to look through the bottom part of my glasses. So I have a tendency to do this instead if I'm painting. But even then, there are times when I'm like, I do have this thing that I can replace my glasses with. It looks kind of like glasses, but it has like these little magnifier doohickeys and stuff. And they're not like the fancy ones that look like jewelers and stuff. They're cheap. I got it on Amazon. It was like $30 or something like that. But it works pretty well, honestly. There's also a light in it if you want, but I've never put batteries in it, so I don't bother. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm off to my every other Sunday D&D game, which is currently synced incorrectly with the show. Well, you know. Is Dirty Down a Weta thing? I don't think so. I had noticed a degradation in my visual acuity last summer and struggled until I got a cheap set of reading glasses. Oh, yeah. Reading glasses can help a lot. Like, here's the deal. You could have had perfect eyesight your entire life, but when you get to around 40, close-up is going to become difficult. And my eye doctor explained it to me. It's because the reason that you can see things close is because the muscles in your eyes squeeze the lenses to flex them kind of to make it so that you can see close versus seeing far away. And as you get older, no matter how good your eyesight is, your lenses start to get less flexible. So you could be a person who's still got regular 20/20 eyesight, looking at stuff over there, but that's why they sell cheap readers, basically, is for people, because otherwise you're doing this, holding things further back, and you're like, because you can't focus close anymore because the lenses in your eyes literally become not brittle but less flexible, so the muscles can't squeeze them to make them do close focus as much. So yeah, that's just kind of the way it works. Dirty Down has a lot of costuming uses. They have spray can products as well. The movie industry uses quite a bit for distressing and weathering. Not sure if the relation to Weta though. Yeah, no, that's true. They do use it. It makes a ton of sense for like display stuff and costuming and like things like that. I feel like it's personally not robust enough for miniatures, at least in my opinion, and terrain to some degree. Depends on the terrain. It like rubs off, frankly. Snow Crash is so great. Yeah. I found Neuromancer extremely confusing on purpose. There's a little bit of that, maybe. He did a book called the Peripheral not too long ago, which I really enjoyed, but I had no idea. It was very confusing. There were like two storylines going on. You did not understand why for about the first half of the book, and then all of a sudden it was made clear, and you're like, oh, okay. But I think he wanted you to be confused for the first half of the book, which is a little annoying. But there's going to be a TV show based off of Neuromancer on Apple Plus or whatever it's called, coming soon. Allegedly still this year. I'm assuming it's going to be this fall or winter. But that I'm interested in checking out. Are you going to make one of those 50 things in my workshop videos? I loved the ones I've seen recently. I didn't know that was a trend. I saw 52 Miniatures did one. I saw the thumbnail. I didn't watch it yet, but I saw the thumbnail and I was like, well, I didn't know that was a trend. I didn't realize that was a thing. Huh. I don't know. I don't know. I hate square bases the way Joan Crawford hated wire hangers. Nice. It's kind of a deep cut there, or for, the older folks. But yes, I agree. Yeah, just not a square base fan. I already have glasses, had progressive stronger ones since I was 6. I do magnifying glasses to read on a tablet. Gotcha. Yeah. Super glued to bonder. Yes, that's what I used on those the goat people feet. Managed to salvage it thanks to some acetone and a bit of prying. I honestly think that basically debonder is acetone. I don't think it's they smell the same, so I don't know. About 1.5 years ago, I ended up switching to progressive lenses. Knew I was having a problem because I had to take off my glasses to read magic cards. Sure. Yeah, I've switched to progressive lenses a number of years ago, and it took a little bit to get used to, but boy, they work great now. I've had friends that have like tried progressives and then not not gone through the difficult part and then just been like and gone back to regular glasses, and I'm like, well, good luck with that. I will be 60 next year, indeed. My eyesight is okay, but I do use magnifiers from time to time. When I look at my painted minis, they scare me. They look so bad. Normally, they are tabletop quality. Is this normal? I mean, really super close stuff. Like if you want to make your miniatures look bad, take really close photos of them. Because then all of a sudden you'll be like, well, this looks great to me. And then you look at like a super macro photo and you're like, oh God. And that's just the way things work. What's wild is close-up is perfect for me. Distance is always my problem. Yeah, I mean, like, the reason I wear glasses is because at a distance, I can't see crap. So I have to have glasses. But now I have to have progressive glasses because not only if I have a hard time seeing at a distance, but also it's harder to see things at a closer distance unless I look over my glasses and get even closer yet. But people like my friend Kevin, which Tick Paints here knows Kevin as well. We're going to Gen Con together. Like Kevin has had like never worn glasses for years and years and years, and then he hit about 40, and now he's got readers all the time for when he needs to read stuff. But distance he's got no problem, and that's evidently standard for people who've never had glasses. Is that you get to a certain age, you still need readers. Do we know who's cast for Molly or Case? No, not yet. Not that I've heard. They did a teaser trailer for it. I think you can find it on YouTube, like, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago. But I don't think it had any footage from like the actual show. It was like a true teaser. Have you ever joined a local gaming club, or do you only play war games with your friends? I wish there was a local gaming club. I got to be honest, I really do. Looking around for a club. Clubs are harder to find in the States than they are in the UK, so it depends on where you live. But yeah. As a 60-plus-year-old, reading glasses help, although I tend to get eye strain headaches more often. Yeah, sometimes I get eye strain headaches after a long paint session. For a while, I was like, oh, I'll just take ibuprofen before I start painting. And I'm like, I don't know if that's necessarily a smart move. I mean, it works, but it's not necessarily a smart move. Reading glasses aren't cheap anymore. Yeah, well, nothing's cheap anymore. Bought a spare pair of reading glasses, magnification number 2, and they cost $2 plus tax. Nice. Bought some reading glasses. They were about $20. No kidding. Jeez. I take close photos of my conversions. Let me see if I scraped off icons well enough before painting. Like, honestly, yeah, there's something to be said about taking pictures of your miniatures, like say before you take it to a competition, because I think you miss things in 3 dimensions that you don't miss in 2 dimensions, and it's because 2 dimensions is not the way that you're used to seeing things, and that maybe that helps. I don't know. It's really weird, but there's been times that I've been like, this is pretty good, and then you go take like close-up photos of it, and then you're like, wow, I missed this part completely. Like, I don't know, like this guy's hand. Like, how did I not see that when I'm looking at the model, but now I see it in the photo? I think I made a video about that. Would you ever play any historical games from Warlord, Black Powder, Bolt Action? I just got into Epic Scale ACW after visiting Gettysburg. I don't know. That's a good question. I think part of the problem is terrain. Because I don't really have a lot of like terrain that works particularly well in historicals. I mean, I've got trees and I've got like some hills and some things like that, but a lot of my terrain stuff is generally more sci-fi, so that makes it kind of weird. I just purchased Snow Crash. Thanks to the recommend. Absolutely, it's a very great book. Also, have you tried Kill Sample Process? It's made by Forbidden Psalm. Yep, I've got that. Yep. It is. Did they make another? So, okay, so first there was Forbidden Psalm. Then there was The Last War, which basically added on to Forbidden Psalm a little bit. And then there was Kill Sample Process, which added on even more stuff. I don't know if there was another game after that that added on even more, but Kill Sample Process in comparison to regular just base Forbidden Psalm is pretty crunchy. Not terrible. Like, again, it's levels of degrees. It's not as crunchy as BattleTech, but it's crunchier than Forbidden Psalm, and it's because they've added stuff on like that. So, yeah, that's I think that's an interesting thing that they've done, and I like. I would say that probably, yeah, I would honestly say probably Kill Sample Process is my favorite one of those. Although I did just pick up Legitimate Salvage, which I haven't tried playing yet, but I picked up the PDF, which is the new kind of, it's like, I don't want to say it's Space Hulk, but it is your space guys in a spaceship, but it's not about like, it's like kind of going through and like, well, it's like you're trying to salvage the ship and stuff like that, but there are some aliens, but it's not got necessarily, it's, let's say it's maybe Space Hulk adjacent, let's say that. I started a gaming hobby club in my neighborhood here in Chicago. If you can't find a club, I highly recommend starting one. Yeah, that's the way it kind of has to work, unfortunately. I mean, well, not unfortunately, but if you don't have tons of time or whatever, or that makes it harder then. But if you do, be the change you want to see in the world kind of thing. Been binge painting Trench Crusade terrain, working on Dice versus Iron Wall. Nice. I have to mail off some terrain to Denmark, actually, probably tomorrow if I can help it. I printed 3 pieces of terrain from Corvus Games terrain. Corvus Games terrain. Websites. Come on. There you go. Trench Wars. Boof. There we go. Oh, he's added a bunch more stuff. Neato. So what did I do? I printed this antenna thing, like this antenna cross thing. Printed that and painted it. And I also did 2 of these bunkers. I did one that's like the busted version, but not with the heretic stuff on it. And then the other one is the cross one. And so I printed 2 of those, and I painted all of them, and I'm mailing it off to Denmark for the Arena Challenge thing. The Army Painter. And news. Yep, here we go. So there's this Arena Challenge thing that Army Painter is doing with Trench Crusade. They're also working with the Trench Titans channel and also the Baron of Dice. And so you have the faithful, which are the more church-oriented folks, and then you have the fallen, which are the heretics. So this is the second. This is mine. You can see my name there. So this is the second Naval Raider guy that I've painted. But basically, we have these. What do you call them? Like deadlines that we have to hit, and then all that kind of stuff. But I won't be in Denmark in the end of August, but there will be folks there in August. So a bunch of us from the factory team are making some terrain and sending it off to those folks in Denmark so they can use them in the games. So 2 of those pillboxes and that cross antenna thing are going to them, and they are getting sent. Like I said, I'm going to probably send them tomorrow if I can. But yeah. So let's see here. There's me. And then Amy Radcliffe, she is a copywriter for Army Painter. Courtney, she is a painter that's also she's the newest factory team member. She's from Canada. Dave Taylor is Dave Taylor. I think everyone kind of knows Dave Taylor. He actually now works for Trench Crusade. He's got like a part-time gig working for the Trench Wire, which is like their version kind of like, Warhammer Community. Philippe, I don't know Philippe. So I'm not sure where Philippe's from. Jeremy Clark. I don't think I know Jeremy. Some of these folks are people who work at Trench Crusade. Some of these folks are people who work like at the Army Painter, like in corporate and stuff like that, like over there. And I don't, but then there's some other folks too that I'm just like Lassa here. I know is a video guy over at. I've met Lassa over at in Denmark. I'm not sure about this person. Lyle used to work for Games Workshop, and he was the editor of White Dwarf for quite some time. And then they decided they didn't need an editor anymore on their magazine at all, which is weird. And so now he is the editor of Trenchwire, which is basically the Trench Crusade one. I don't know who Stefane is. Thomas here is the... he works for Games Workshop, or not Games Workshop. He works for the Army Painter. He's like product development and stuff like that. And then Tyler Mengel is he's the social media guy basically for Army Painter, and he's won a bunch of Golden Demons and stuff like that. He's a very good painter. But and then over here on the good guys side, you got Adam, which you've probably seen Adam in the videos a bunch. Adrian Phillips is from the Tabletop Titans channel. They got a new sub-channel called Trench Titans. Dave Taylor's playing both sides of the fence because he's smart, you know what I mean? Ian Huxley. Ian was an editor of White Dwarf before Lyle was, long time ago. Jake is part of the podcast. He and Dave Taylor do a podcast called Build, Paint, Play. And he is a store owner out in Boston. Yeah. And they are also part of the factory team. Joey Jobs. I don't know who Joey Jobs is, but I'm going to assume by seeing Dice there that maybe he's one of the folks that works for Baron of Dice. Jonathan Beveridge, I think is a Army Painter person. Rasmus, I'm not sure. Sam Lenz, we all know Sam Lenz. And then Tim Engelman. Tim I've met. Tim's a great guy. Tim is part of the, he's also an Army Painter employee, but he's part of the events team. So like him and Kat and Caleb go to all these different events and run the booth and stuff like that. So, but anyway, yeah, it's pretty cool. And then, like I said, you get like glory points for doing stuff and whatever, and it's kind of like an escalation league. It's just for not an entire army. Whoops, dang it! I was going to hope not to do that this time, but I did screw it up. So anyway, yeah, that's been fun. Hope is for the Dead is also from Forbidden Psalm game engine for a zombie apocalypse game. Yeah, I think I've heard of that one, but not played it. Our club started just by posting up a day and time for monthly games day. Makes sense. Facebook was our weapon of choice. Sure. Cross antenna is cool. Yeah, Corvus makes really nice stuff for Trench Crusade, in my opinion. American Civil War farmland could also work for sci-fi. Just set a grimdark on Planet of the Amish. Definitely should have painted this dreadnought in sub-assemblies. Got too hyped building it. Yeah, I do that too. Just purchased a sports game from Drive-Thru RPG based on Forbidden Psalm. I think it's called Pirate Ball or something like that. I think I've heard of that. Yeah. Does Trench Crusade have any kind of solo or co-op mode at this stage? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think so. I haven't heard of anything. Michael Strange, how you doing? If you decapitate an opponent, you can score with the head. Nice. Sam's video on painting those Trench Crusade models is great. He embraced the sponge. He did. Yeah, I just watched it last night, actually. Yeah. it's funny because his videos, he and Vince both have a tendency to make their videos like far in advance. And so then when we see them on YouTube, like with, I don't know about Vince, but I know with Sam, his Patreon folks see his videos much earlier than those of us who are watching on, what on like regular old YouTube or whatever. So that video is probably from early April because he mentioned getting the sponge from Jake, because Jake gave all of us makeup sponges like one of the last days we were at Adepticon, because he's just like, oh, I just started using these and they're really cool. And a bunch of it, like I've used them before and I have some, but he gave up, makeup sponges and stuff like that. And I don't know if Sam had used a sponge quite like that before, but so yeah, he was working on some Trench Crusade guys and using that, and it turned out really cool. So I want to use sponges more on terrain. Like, not so much, I don't think, this stuff. Like, not the, I don't know that it would work for the way that I do these things, but I would like to see it. I could see doing it on other sci-fi buildings and stuff like that, doing a little bit more sponging. I do love my airbrush, though. It just makes things so quick. You know what I mean? But yeah, so like I said, my plan is to have 2 more of those finished and to finish these 2. So I have 4 of them all done by the end of the summer. But I do really want to be able to have 9 of them done as soon as possible, because then I can at least make a 3x3. And like a 4x4, that's like 16 tiles, which is too many tiles. But, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see if they change the size of the board, too, now that I come to think of it, with the new Necromunda. Again, like I said, I don't think there's going to be drastic changes because we're still using the templates. We're still using the dice. Like, that's the same dice that the custom dice that they've got, that they've had in the past. So I don't think things are changing a lot. I love how Sam's microphone isn't plugged in. I guess I hadn't noticed that. That makes sense. Any game can be solo game if you compartmentalize enough. Also true. Very true. Yeah, well, it could be a wireless mic, couldn't it? I don't know. Yeah, I am looking forward to, Sam and I are going to play some Trench Crusade soon, which is nice. I'm looking forward to that as well. And if Necromunda doesn't suck, if the new version is okay, then I could see him and I, and probably also Raven already has a finished like 4x4 board of Necromunda stuff that is amazing. I could see us playing at his place. You know what I mean? And like I said, I already have a Cawdor Force, and I'm just like finished and painted and everything like that. And now I'm thinking maybe Delac. I don't know. I like Van Sar a lot too. I think they're cool. Has Sam made a channel on miniature photography called Looking Through the Lens? It'd be smart. It's not a bad idea. I don't remember, but it's possible. It should be. That would be, I don't know. He gets annoyed when people, and not in a good way, not like oh, it's fun to, he gets like ticked off when people misspell his last name, and it happens a lot. Like a lot. And it's not like some dude just spells his name wrong, but like he was going to go teach a class, I think at Origins a couple of years ago, and they put him up on the website and they completely misspelled his last name. And he's like, I'm on the internet all over the place. It would be so easy to look that up, but they just decided not to, and stuff like that. So he gets annoyed by that. So don't do that. Don't misspell his name. You didn't there. You did just right, and it's a play on words. So you nailed that. I should mention that to him. He should definitely do he should do something like that. Try and track it down in my files and upload it to the Discord for you guys to look over. I mean, it would be interesting to have some sort of app. I don't know how you would do it. It would be, well, okay. It would be interesting to have some sort of app that was just full of, how like Battlescribe had like those files, so you had to download the one for the game that you were going to play, and then you could build forces for it. I would love to see an app that was like a solo co-op thing that you would then download for the game that you were going to play. Like, obviously, a solo game is not going to work. Like, an app that does solo is not going to work across the board for all different games. But if you were like, well, we'll make a data set for Trench Crusade, we'll make a data set for, One Page Rules, Grimdark Future, we'll make it. Those guys already have solo stuff for Grimdark Future, and the OPR stuff has solo and co-op, so you don't need to do that. But for games that don't, it would be kind of neat to do that so that you could play those games even though they haven't taken the time to make a solo or co-op. And also, I think pretty much all games in this day and age should make a solo and co-op if they can handle it. As someone named Gabe, nothing angers me quicker than calling me Dave. Oh no, I can see that, sure. But yeah, I think someone should write an app like that. Not me though, because I don't know how to do apps. And I'm not going to vibe code that stuff. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much about it. Like I said, I am at the very least, even if it turns out the new Necromunda doesn't do much for me, I'm at least inspired to continue working on these and the other ones and continue going along down that road, which I think is good because I can use that terrain in all kinds of different games. So, it doesn't have to be just good old, not just good old Necromunda. But here's hoping that we like the new Necromunda. I mean, if you're like super into crunchy stuff and they don't change it much, you'll probably like it just fine, but we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I don't really think they're going to change it drastically because if they did, they probably would have gotten rid of the templates at the very least. The goofy teardrop and the blast markers and all that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow at my normal Twitch time, which is 7 p.m. Central. 7 p.m. Central to 10 p.m. Central. So for those of you who don't follow me on Twitch, you should follow me on Twitch if you want to watch me paint stuff. Tomorrow I'll probably continue painting on Space Marines because I'm taking a little bit of a break from the Trench Crusade guys. After I get done with Trench Crusade, or Space Marines and Trench Crusade, then I don't know what I'm doing next. Maybe a bunch of these Human Defense Force from One Page Rules. I've got a whole bunch of them over here that need to have their bases textured and then painted up. But yeah. So thanks to everybody for coming by. I hope that you got some hobby time done if that's what you wanted to do, or we got some other chores done, or whatever. Just relaxed. That's always fun too. We'll see you folks again here in 2 weeks, and Gen Con will not get in the way of the Every Other Sunday show, so that'll be fun. That's the whole reason we went back onto this schedule. And what else? I don't know. That's about it. Do some hobby if you get the chance. If you don't, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. One of these days I'll be able to say that right, but it's not today. New podcast goes live tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Central Time, roughly, I think, is when it goes live. So new podcast on the Snarlcast from me and Vince. So you can check that out as well if you're interested in indie games and their design. I don't know. That's about all I got for now. So thanks to everyone for coming by and hanging out, and we'll see you again soon. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Do a little bit of hobby and rest. Be safe. Thanks for watching.